morning and a warm welcome from Luxembourg, also from my side, and good afternoon for all of you being our guests today. Let me please take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Joe Clemens. I'm working as the Senior Advisor for Digital Transformation, being part of the so-called Digital Innovation Hub, which is part of the Luxinnovation organization. I spent several years in different IT positions and also positions in the automation industry, which is also the essential part of my role as Senior Advisor for Digital Transformation in Luxembourg, helping companies in their efforts to innovate in regards to digital and to be more successful in our markets of today. Give you a little first introduction of Luxinnovation, in addition to what my colleague Jenny already explained, but here a little bit more focused on the digital support. Basically, our strategy as Luxinnovation and the Digital Innovation Hub is pretty much driven by the strong decisions of the European Union, but as well accompanied with different programs coming from the Luxembourg government. And we, Luxinnovation, Digital Innovation Hub, we are basically helping to deliver on those programs. And the focus is surely sustainability, innovation, and digitalization as the key elements for, as we from Luxembourg see the future, and also the providing competitive advantages being in the market. How we do that? Actually, Luxinnovation as an organization is basically divided in three major pillars. Let me start on the business development. And here I really like to point out particularly the marketing intelligence, for example, because it's for us trying to support companies in their success, in my case, in their digitalization efforts. We first have to identify our customers. So no difference to any other commercial organization, I would say. And here we have also the support organizations towards startup and the international business development as one example, as we see our event today. The other major pillar is certainly the RDI, research, development, and innovation support. It's important to point out here that particularly the innovation element becomes more and more important today. And digitalization is certainly a very critical factor becoming innovative in today's markets in regards to the services a company provides to their customer, but as well when it comes to product development. And also the European Commission, as well as the Luxembourg government, has clearly identified this element as a key element to help companies. And once you have innovative ideas and you are searching for support, then Luxinnovation is certainly able to help you with certain programs. I have a few details on that one in a moment. Then the last and very important element, and that links pretty nicely with what Jenny's answer was on that one question that was raised from the audience. We provide company relation and support. That's quite important, and also a differentiator of Luxembourg in comparison to many other companies, because it is a rather small country and a smaller society. But we from Luxinnovation, as well as from the Digital Innovation Hub team, we are really keeping a good network of all the different actors that are in the market. For specific programs, we have also built cluster, and usually we appoint cluster managers that are helping, for example, on topics like, or on industry sectors like the health tech, automotive, mobility, things like that. Or the Digital Innovation Hub is a separate team that is supporting companies, because the factor of digitalization we find, and I guess you would agree to that, we find today everywhere. It is independent from the sector you are in, but digitalization is all around us. So coming a bit to the Digital Innovation Hub and the term, this is actually not a Luxembourgish invention, this terminology. It's already part of the European program. So basically you find digital innovation hubs in all member countries around Europe. And the main aim of the Digital Innovation Hub is to build a network, as mentioned before, with all the actors, and to provide support, which can be financial programs, but it can also be to find the right partners or the right research institutions in order to help companies to innovate by use of the typical technology trends we see today. A bit more concrete, how basically, and you see that on the right hand of that slide, we have different actors in the market. Of course, the companies that are looking for digital help, that might be large companies, SME, small, medium enterprises, or even startups. But most companies are sometimes indeed struggling with their digitalization strategy, or I would even say with their innovation strategy. And due to the fact that we listen to their needs, we try to identify either the common needs for the entire sector, and we provide programs to overcome those, or we identify very individual challenges a company might face. And then in a second step, we try to connect those obstacles or the challenges with the right players. The right players can be the typical ICT providers that are in the market, and Luxembourg has many of those. I will show the number in a moment. But also, when it comes to the point of development and research, we can connect those companies directly to the respective institutions. So basically what we do is we provide a network of all the different players in that ecosystem in order to help the companies to develop further. And last not least, we not do that just in Luxembourg. We are also well connected outside Luxembourg. We call it the Grand Région, which is basically a big portion of Belgium, Germany, and France. And also here we have different actors that can play a big role or big supporters of digitalization projects. In case we do not find or can identify the right partner in Luxembourg. How we do that? I mentioned before already marketing intelligence, and on the left-hand side you see now a picture of what we have just achieved this year. With our Department of Marketing Intelligence, we were able to identify not only all the manufacturing companies in Luxembourg and their specific specialization in certain markets, if it is metal industry or something in plastic. We also, on top of that, identified all the different ICT providers that can play a support role for those companies in Luxembourg. The picture here is specifically made up, or the database you see here in front of you is specifically made up for the industry, for the manufacturing area. And even if Luxembourg is a rather smaller country, you see here that we have 298 companies that are actually acting as appropriate ICT providers in Luxembourg. And we have done a pre-screening of those companies on their speciality. So if you would come to Luxembourg and you would have need to find an organization that can help you, for example, on artificial intelligence, we from DIH are able to give you more or less immediate answers. Of course, since we are a public institution, we have to stay neutral, but certainly we can provide you at least with all the major players. And also back to what my colleague Jenny had said before, we can help you also to get in direct contact with those ICT providers. And this we have made in a way that we call it the marketplace, that once you register, so you can use our database and even search by yourself. And you will find, in this example, I selected Internet of Things. You can select the sector you are in. And based on that, you will get a list of all the different ICT providers in Luxembourg. And this is already, I think, quite a nice way to support you. Plus, in case you need further help, we can bring you in closer contact, and we can also help to arrange meetings and things like that. I hope this made it a bit clear how we do that. And what I just said on the ICT provider ecosystem is also true for the national research, innovation and development institutions. I have here listed only 4. There are far more, but the big ones that play an important role when it comes to digitalization is certainly the university, the SNT, LIST, and SMILE. Just to point out maybe a little bit the differences, SNT is the Interdisciplinary Center for Security, Reliability and Trust. And as well as the LIST, here you find a lot of research projects or researchers that are on digitalization, on automation, on artificial intelligence, and all the interesting buzzwords that are usually connected when it comes to topics like Industry 4.0, digital transformation, or innovation. Last not least, and I think that's a very critical and good element of support as well. Once an organization is deciding to move ahead on their digitalization strategy, those organizations are strongly recommended to also make sure that they have a reliable IT security in place. And even here, Luxembourg has a specific research institute that can help, which is called SMILE, Security Made in Luxembourg, which is another outstanding example of all the support you can usually expect once you come to Luxembourg. In a nutshell, I would say, we from DIH, we basically bring companies in connections. Or I should better say, we bring all the different players into a network together, because we are all human beings. We learn from the others. And the good thing in Luxembourg is also that often companies are connected that are not direct competitors. So when we invite for meetings, for example, the exchange of ideas, initiatives, and projects, and the openness to share insights into the different organization is very high. So companies help each other, I would say. But we can also, as mentioned before, bring you in the contact to institutions, to the providers, and engage you in the programs. And last not least, with the different national and also European aid programs, we can help you also on the financial side in case that is required. I also like to share, similar to what my colleague Jenny did, some of the hard facts about Luxembourg when it comes to digital. As you can see on this slide here, and these are numbers coming from the European Digital Economic and Society Index, we call it DESI, which is a report that is actually issued by the European Commission every year. And here you see that when it comes to a connectivity viewpoint, even if Luxembourg is a small country, we are already rated or benchmarked on number 3. As well on human capital, when it comes to the number of IT specialists that we have in Luxembourg. And this is pretty much in line with the number we have seen before, that we have just for the industry or manufacturing sector already nearly 300 ICT providers in our country. We rated number 12 in the Internet of Things, number 19 in digital technology. Certainly, we are not everywhere number 1. None of the countries is. But you see here already that Luxembourg is on a good course. And if we switch to this one, it's again showing, it's a bit linked again to Industry 4.0. But if we see the rating here, also here from infrastructure readiness, as well as from a big data maturity, which is one of the key elements for most of the digitalization projects, Luxembourg is already today ranked on the higher quadrant. And with all the different programs that were launched by the Luxembourgish government, plus the additional support we can expect from the different European programs, we look quite positive into the future. And to share a few examples, Luxina, as one of the largest and most powerful HPC computers in the world, was inaugurated this year by our Grand Duke, the Prime Minister, and our Minister of Economy. It shows again the commitment of the government of Luxembourg into the digitalization strategy of the country. Important to mention on Luxina, and I know from Professor Bouvry we will even hear more details, but one thing I like to really point out here is the fact that in comparison to most of the other HPC computers, for example, in Europe, that are usually linked to research and development institutions, Luxina is by 65% made available towards the public sector, which is a very outstanding differentiator, I would say, compared to many others. And it's designed to support companies when they run complex modeling and simulations and deep data analysis. The second example that I like to point out is the initiative on Gaia-X. Gaia-X will become an infrastructure hosted in Luxembourg or managed also through Luxembourg that will allow companies to store, analyze data in a safe environment following European data privacy standards. It will ensure, because it will be managed through a framework of rules that we follow open interfaces and standards, and the public and companies can be assured that the privacy standards are really guaranteed. Last not least, again, and here it's a statistic about the investment into digital when it comes to research and development, which again shows the seriousness of the Luxembourg government to become one of the leading countries in Luxembourg, in Europe, when it comes to digitalization. We are already ranked number one in that respect, because by a per capita viewpoint, it's Luxembourg spending most on research and development across Europe. And those three examples hopefully and clearly show you the seriousness of the strategy in Luxembourg. And if there are more questions, I'm here to answer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clemens, for this very informative presentation. そうですね、ルクセンブルクのこの、デジタルイノベーションハブの特徴はやはりコネクトできる、例えばマーケットプレイスのようにいろいろな企業がつながったり、そういうところが最も力強い利点だというのお話でしたけれども。So I think we are a bit running out of time, so I just would like to take just one question if there are any. もしちょっと時間をしているんですが、お一人だけもしご質問があれば、質疑を受けたいと思いますが、いかがでしょうか。どなたかいらっしゃいませんか。はい、ではお願いいたします。Yes, there is one question from one gentleman.
Thank you so much for sharing the very interesting and useful information, Mr. Stolbrink. So I am Jin from Deepco. We do invest AI and deep tech startups. And then some of our portfolio, they are planning to expand their businesses in Europe. So it sounds like, Luxembourg could be a good place for them to test a European market. And then I'm checking your website and then how the company like a startup, they can start to use a marketplace service.
Okay, for startup companies, it applies actually the same, because the startup usually requires some infrastructure. And here, of course, in case it's necessary, we can again help those startup companies to bring them into contact with the right ICT providers if that is necessary. But we have also different incubators located in Luxembourg that, for example, even provide office space. And we are also here as a DIH team to bring you in contact with organizations like incubators if that is necessary.
Thank you very much for the question.